Xiaomi just released the Redmi 13, and this smartphone here should not be mistaken for the Redmi Note 13 or the Redmi 13C. It currently retails for around 199,600 naira from Xiaomi stores, and that's roughly $135. Based on this price mentioned, I know you want to find out if this is an upgrade from the predecessor, the Redmi Note 12, or if this is a better value for money than the Redmi Note 13. I know you want to find out, and so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. On opening the box, aside from the boring user manual, you'll notice a Redmi 13 smartphone wrapped in a transparent nylon cover. You also see a USB Type-A to C cable, a 33-watt wired charger, a SIM ejector pin, and a transparent TPU case to protect this device. Now, you do not get an earbud from within this box, as that is typical with Redmi devices, especially in this price range. Now, let's talk about the build quality here. Now, picking up this smartphone, you'd immediately notice the sleek glass front and also the glass back. It gives this phone a premium feel, but keep in mind that this can also be a fingerprint magnet. On the sides, you have this plastic frame, which is almost the same design seen in the Redmi 12 from last year, and somehow almost the same design as the Redmi Note 13. Flipping over to the back side of this smartphone, you get this glass panel. This can look stylish, especially in the different color options we have, like the midnight black, the sandy gold, which I have here, the ocean blue, and the pink color Redmi has to offer here. However, just like the front side, it is prone to scratches and cracks if you're not careful with this device. So it's quite important to use the transparent case here to protect your smartphone. The Redmi 13 weighs about 205 grams, which is roughly less than a can of soda, plus it comes in at 8.3mm in thickness, which makes it easy to slip into the pocket. Now, the Redmi 12 has a profile of 8.2, which is slightly less than this one, but you won't notice that difference between these two devices. You get a right side mounted fingerprint scanner, which also doubles as the power key and has this fast unlock feature with it. I mean, side mounted fingerprint scanners have been pretty much faster than the in-display counterparts. At the top of the phone, you get the IR blaster and the 3.5mm headphone jack. The IR blaster is great for when you want to control your electronics around the house or in the office, and this actually would replace your remote control, acting like a universal remote control. For the SIM slot, which is found at the top left corner of the smartphone, it has this hybrid configuration, which is either 2 SIMs or 1 SIM and a micro SD card. Now, for protection here, the Redmi 13 is IP53 rated for dust and water protection, just like the predecessor, the Redmi 12. This means this phone can handle light water splashes and dust without any problem. So guys, what do you think about this design? Let me know in the comment section below, and while you're at that, do not forget to subscribe if you're new here. Thanks guys. Now let's talk about the speakers on the smartphone. The Redmi 13 has a single down-firing speaker and a 3.5mm headphone jack that supports 24 bits and 192 kHz high-resolution audio. Now, while the headphone jack support sounds pretty decent, I can't help but feel like a dual speaker configuration on this smartphone would have taken this device to the next level in terms of the audio. Now, with the stereo speaker, we can get richer soundscape and more immersive listening experience, maybe, but for now, it's just a single down-firing speaker you get with the Redmi 13. Now, let's talk about the biometrics on this smartphone. The fingerprint scanner here is mounted to the side, the right side, and which doubles as the power button here. It's pretty fast for everyday unlocks on your smartphone. In terms of being consistent, I say this is really consistent for your unlocks on this device. Now, compared to the fingerprint scanner on the Redmi 12, which could sometimes be a little bit sluggish, this one feels a little bit faster. Now, for the display side of things, the Redmi 13 features a 90Hz IPS LCD panel. Now, this 90Hz refresh rate is a nice step up from the standard 60Hz you get from entry budget devices. And you can switch this refresh rate between 60 and 90, but I set mine to 90 all the time because there's the option to do that from your display setting. There are a lot of things you can play around with in the display settings. On top of that, this display boasts a peak brightness of 550 nits. I don't know why I said boost, but I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the best for the price range. You have to struggle a little bit under direct sunlight with this display, but it gets the job done. As far as the display size, you get a massive 6.79-inch display. There's also an 85% screen-to-body ratio, meaning the bezels are not the smallest you've seen. They are very much noticeable. One thing here is this display is great for users who prioritize large viewing area. Other things here include a 1080 by 2460 pixel resolution, which translates to higher pixel per inch density. Also, that means sharp and crisp text. Protecting this beautiful display is a layer of Corning Gorilla Glass. For me, this is a major upgrade over the Redmi 12 standard glass, which is also susceptible to scratches and nicks. The display here is okay for what you're paying. Now, talking about the performance on the Redmi 13, this smartphone is powered by the Helio G91 Ultra processor. Now, you have Android 14 on this with HyperOS skin on top of that, and it delivers something I'll call a decent responsive experience for regular everyday use. This is not the fastest smartphone I've used for some reason, and I've also seen this processor on other devices that feel a little bit faster than the Redmi 13. Now, the MediaTek Helio G91 Ultra processor is basically a slight upgrade from the G88 processor, and I think the major difference between these two chips is the support for a higher megapixel count on the processor here, the G91. And by the way, both of these processors have support for just 4G, so this is basically a 4G smartphone, no 5G here. On the storage side of things, storage options range from 128 gigs, which I have here, to 256 gigabytes, with both 6 gigabytes of RAM and 8 GB RAM configurations available, so you can choose one that best suits your needs. Keep in mind that the micro SD card slot uses a shared SIM slot. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to expand the memory here, you have to sacrifice the second SIM card space. By the way, here are benchmark scores for the smartphone for those who love to see benchmark scores. Alright, let's put the Redmi 13 gaming chops to the test. Booting up Call of Duty here, the phone leverages the Helio G91 Ultra chipset to deliver a quite decent experience. Have I seen better? Yes, of course. But for a light gamer or casual gamer, this smartphone will, however, get you a few kills. Also, it's worth noting that this smartphone here gets slightly warm during extended gaming sessions, and the performance began to throttle a little bit. Now, as far as this smartphone getting warm, it's actually noticeable to the touch, but not something that would be uncomfortable for you to hold this device. Overall, the MediaTek Helio G91 Ultra with the Mali G5 MC2 GPU proves itself to be a capable chip for casual gamers and great for daily mobile tasks. The truth is, as far as performance here, you'd notice the lags. While it might not hit the highest frame rates on the most demanding games or titles here, it delivers a decent and enjoyable experience for the most part. Shifting gears to the cameras, the Redmi 13 packs a punch with the main sensor boasting a whopping 108 megapixels. Now, megapixels ain't everything, but this high resolution promises detailed captures in good lighting conditions. It's important to remember that this smartphone likely uses pixel binning by default, capturing 12 megapixel images for better low light performance and storage efficiency. Now, you need to switch to the high resolution mode if you want the 108 megapixel detail, which might come with increased processing times and larger file sizes. Now, the secondary 2 megapixel macro sensor here is for capturing those close-up shots of tiny objects. But with such a low resolution, you shouldn't expect mind-blowing detail. The LED flash offers some assistance in low light scenarios, and the HDR mode here helps balance those high contrast scenes. Video recording on this smartphone is capped at 1080p and 30 FPS, which is fairly standard for a phone in this price range. Overall, the Redmi 13's camera system seems geared towards casual users who prioritize capturing decent memories without needing those fancy features or high-resolution videos. For the selfie lovers, it offers a 13 megapixel front-facing camera with f2.5 aperture. This should be good enough to capture decent selfie photos in good lighting especially, and the HDR mode here will help with balancing those backlit scenes in terms of the exposure handling. I noticed a lot of plasticky thing going on with the front-facing camera's capture here, even though I turned that feature off. This is not the best selfie camera I've seen, but it's quite usable. This is a significant camera upgrade in comparison to the Redmi 12's 50 megapixel main sensor from last year. One other thing to note is, if you want the best with this camera, you should give it ample lighting or good lighting, otherwise you might have some complaints to make. Now, the biggest loss is the ultra-wide camera we got from the Redmi 12 last year, which offered an 8 megapixel ultra-wide option, perfect for capturing expansive landscapes or fitting casual elements into the frame. Unfortunately, the Redmi 13 here ditches the ultra-wide entirely, so you have to rely solely on the main camera, maybe a few steps back to get a wider shot. Now, on the other hand, I see this as a good thing because the ultra-wide couldn't match the main sensor in quality from that last year's smartphone, and I don't think manufacturers should keep adding ultra-wide sensors that don't kind of match up the main sensor on smartphones like this. Now, the Redmi 13's camera system caters to casual users who prioritize capturing clear and detailed photos in good lighting. That's the key point. The 108 megapixel main sensor here boasts impressive resolution, while the 13 megapixel front-facing camera should be adequate for most social media needs. Now for the battery side of things, you get a 50-30 mAh capacity, non-removable battery which promises to keep your smartphone powered throughout the day. Now this high capacity battery should be enough for most users, even with moderate to heavy use. When it comes to recharge time for this smartphone, you have a 33 watts charger from within the box, which most manufacturers like Samsung no longer provide for their budget entry smartphones. And Redmi claims that the charger will charge this device up to 29% in 15 minutes. This is perfect when you only have a short window to top up your battery. Now I would say you can notice that extra 30 mAh addition to the Redmi 13's 5000 mAh from last year. So you have 50-30 here. Come on, that's a plus. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you get the Redmi 13 for 199,600 naira or $135 in my case for 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs storage option. Other price options are right here on screen. So from around 200,000 naira to 240,000 naira across retail stores for the different memory and storage configurations, roughly $135 to $165. So the Redmi 13 offers a compelling package for budget-minded users who also prioritize a decent or slightly smooth user experience and a long-lasting battery life for casual users. That's the key point here. Good battery life, good displays, and also this smartphone promises all-day endurance, even takes you to the next day, and you also get a 33-watt fast charging system on this smartphone, so you won't be tethered to your outlet all day. The camera system is a bit of a mixed bag. The 108 megapixel main sensor boasts impressive resolution for capturing detailed photos in good lighting. However, videographers and those who crave for an ultra-wide lens or even higher resolution in terms of the videos should look elsewhere. Overall, the Redmi 13 strikes a good balance between affordability and some decent features. While it won't win any awards for the top-of-the-line specs or camera versatility, it delivers a solid user experience for everyday tasks, making it a great option for those on a budget. But honestly, there are other devices I might consider over this smartphone. For instance, say the Samsung Galaxy A15, which has an AMOLED display. But if you want to see a comparison between this smartphone and the Galaxy A15 in terms of the performance and cameras, let me know in the comment section below and I might make that happen. Also, do not forget to like this video, let me know your thoughts in the comments as usual, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Kuidati.